Hey there. So once again, we're going to return back to the concept of path and request parameters. And this time we're going to isolate it out to a service layer. Service layers are really nice because they are able to allow us to isolate our implementation details from the controller details. There's a lot of information about this on the Spring websites, and there's even examples. I'm just going to try to do a really quick example to show you how this works in action, without going into too much specifics or specific implementations. So we're going to start by creating a package called service. In service, we're going to create a main service class. You don't have to name it main service. You can name it whatever you like. The convention commonly is to call it service as the suffix, but the prefix doesn't matter. Now there's two ways we could do this. We can isolate out the code here by cutting it out and then pasting it in here as generic get, public string generic get, and then telling it that it's going to receive a string value name. Or option B is we can go back to our controller here. We're going to go return main service dot generic get name. It doesn't know where main service is coming from. Once again, dependency injection saves the day for us. So we can now auto-wired main service, and we now have it for free. The courtesy of that is our service component annotation, which tells Spring to auto-wire this, get it ready to go, and create a service for us. Now, we can cut this code out as well, but instead of going ahead and manually creating a method, we're going to go return main service dot generic delete. And we're going to pass in a string name and a string ID, the same as this function has. And now with our Alt-Enter, that's not working the way it's supposed to. We should be able to go ahead and, because I've got the string name and the string ID in here. I gave it types. Now if I hit Alt-Enter, I can create a method, generic delete, which conveniently goes inside of our main service class with our argument names. We can now paste this in, and here we are. We have got our class isolated to a service. This is useful for if we want to test independent of an MVC implementation. We've seen how to do MVC tests. Those are great. What they're not great for is testing things like exceptions or certain branchings. So this allows us to treat the main service as if it were a class, or alternately, we even can go into here and now create a second class called mock main service. We'll call it just a service mock. We're going to go ahead and call this a service as well. It's going to extend the main service, which means it gets everything main service had for free. The one thing we're going to change on this is going to be the property source. The property source we will say is test.properties. Now this might seem like a naive implementation, very simple, but the reality is this is going to allow us now to treat the main service with whatever properties are in our test.properties file instead of application properties. So suppose we just go here and we choose to go file test.properties, and we want to say that the server dot name equals some test name instead of the one that we have inside of our application properties. Server.name equals production name. This is great if you're working in environments that have Mongo databases or SQL databases that have a test database and a production database. You don't want to modify your production data when you're testing, but you do want to have something that's a clone of it. So now you could go into your main controller here, and it's going to throw an error because it doesn't know what's going on. But we could go mock main service now and pass that in instead, and guess what? It works. Or we could go ahead and instead of using the auto-wired annotation, we can go auto-wired public main controller and go main service main service, and then go this dot main service equals main service, recreate our main service, and now it doesn't care what kind of service we're creating when we create the controller. It could be a mock main service or a main service, because the inheritance hierarchy tells us that mock main service is a main service, allowing us to utilize polymorphism to our advantage. Additionally, we could override the class that we had in there, public string generic get string name, to always say return this is a test. And now we have, when we call a mock main service instance, we know it's the mock main service. We have specialized behavior just in the testing side. So that is going to be it for this video. Everything is going to run the exact same way it did before. And hopefully that answers some questions about when you would use a service annotation versus just the REST controller annotation. In summary, it allows you to break out your logic, because oftentimes your logic won't be something you can see on a screen. It's going to be one or more functions, a lot of complex business logic that you're going to want to test independently, that you may want to reuse outside of that get method. You might find that your sorting logic and your paging logic really is something that's going to be reusable, and you want it in a function. Well, you could put that function inside of your controller method, or you could put it into the service method one time, keep your controller clean, you don't have to repeat yourself, you follow the single responsibility principle, and you're able to go ahead and keep things simple and don't make you think. So that's going to conclude this video. Thank you for watching, and please leave any questions inside of the comment section.